In ancient Egypt, divine power did not belong solely to male gods. The universe itself was woven from a balance of masculine and feminine forces, and the Egyptian pantheon reflected this harmony with extraordinary depth. The great goddesses Isis, Hathor, Sekhmet, Bastet, Neith, Mut, and many others were not passive figures or supporting characters. They were creators, destroyers, healers, protectors, and the very embodiment of cosmic energy. To understand Egyptian religion is to understand that the feminine divine was one of its central pillars. Unlike many ancient civilizations, Egypt placed immense spiritual authority in its goddesses. They were not limited to roles of fertility or motherhood, though these were important aspects. They also held dominion over war, magic, kingship, prophecy, and even the destiny of the world itself. In many myths, goddesses acted with more wisdom and agency than their male counterparts. Their presence maintained cosmic equilibrium. Without them, creation could not function. This concept was rooted in the fundamental principle of Mat, the universal law of truth, balance, justice, and harmony. Mat herself was not just a concept, but a goddess, the feather of truth resting upon her head. Every god, including Ra, lived according to her order. Even the pharaoh, considered divine, was judged by how faithfully he upheld Mat. In essence, the entire cosmic structure depended on a feminine force. Egyptian goddesses often represented dual aspects of existence. They could nurture or destroy, heal or punish, comfort or terrify. This duality was seen as natural. Creation required both gentleness and power. Hathor and Sekhmet embodied this truth more clearly than any other pair. One, a goddess of love and joy. The other, a lioness of rage and war, yet both were expressions of the same divine entity. To the Egyptians, feminine divinity was vast enough to contain contradictions without losing harmony. The feminine also shaped kingship. Every pharaoh, no matter how mighty, derived legitimacy from a goddess. Isis was the divine mother of kings, her throne-shaped crown symbolizing the authority she bestowed. Nukbet and Wajet protected the ruler as the vulture and cobra goddesses of Upper and Lower Egypt. Even Mut, the Great Mother, appeared in royal iconography to emphasize stability and divine inheritance. Without the blessing of a goddess, the king could not rule. Her presence was the spiritual foundation of his power. Magic sheep was also deeply intertwined with the feminine. In Egyptian belief, sheeps of the force that sustained creation, and goddesses were its most skilled wielders. Whether healing the sick, shaping destiny, or resurrecting the dead, female deities possessed unmatched mastery of supernatural power. Isis, especially, was revered as the greatest magician in the cosmos. Her knowledge of sacred words and hidden names allowed her to perform miracles that even gods envied. The feminine divine extended into daily life as well. Women invoked Hathor for protection in childbirth, Bastet to guard their homes, Toret to ward off danger, and Serket to protect against venom and illness. These goddesses acted as constant companions to ordinary people. They were not distant figures, but intimate guardians who listened to prayers, watched over families, and intervened when danger threatened. Yet the greatest role of the goddesses was in their connection to creation and rebirth. Many myths describe the world emerging from a cosmic mother, whether it was the watery goddess Nun, the primordial cow Mehetweret, or the sky goddess Nut. Nut, especially, symbolized the cycle of renewal as she swallowed the sun each evening and gave birth to it each morning. In her body, time itself was renewed. To Egyptians, feminine power was not a counterpart to masculine power. It was its equal and essential partner. Together, they sustained the cosmos. Apart, nothing could exist. The divine feminine was not gentle softness or comforting warmth, though it could be those things. It was creation, destruction, wisdom, healing, motherhood, fury, protection, and magic woven into one eternal force. The goddesses of Egypt shaped the world just as profoundly as the gods, and their influence touched every aspect of life, death, and the afterlife. Understanding them is understanding the heart of Egyptian spirituality, and their story is only just beginning. Among all the goddesses of ancient Egypt, none stood higher in wisdom, devotion, and supernatural mastery than Isis. She was the magician who could command gods, the mother who protected kings, and the wife whose loyalty transcended death itself. Her story lies at the heart of Egyptian religion, shaping beliefs about kingship, magic, and the afterlife for more than 3,000 years. Isis, known as Aset in Egyptian, was revered as the embodiment of divine intelligence and perseverance. Unlike many deities who were worshipped through fear or awe, Isis inspired deep affection. She was a goddess who acted out of love, yet her love was powerful enough to reshape creation. Her strength was not brute force, but knowledge. She possessed secrets of the cosmos that even the gods envied. Her most famous story begins with the tragedy of her husband, Osiris, who was betrayed and murdered by his brother Set. When Set scattered Osiris's body across the land, he believed the deed would erase his brother from existence. But he underestimated Isis. With unwavering determination, she journeyed across Egypt, gathering the pieces of Osiris's body one by one. Every location she visited became a sacred place. Her grief was immense, but it did not break her. It fueled her magic. With the help of her sister, Nephthys, and the jackal god Anubis, Isis performed the first mummification in history, transforming the dead Osiris into the first resurrected being. She used spells so ancient that they could stir life from silence, breath from stillness. Through her knowledge of hidden words, she restored Osiris's spirit long enough to conceive a son, Horus, the future king. This moment established Isis not only as a powerful sorceress, but as the divine mother of Egypt's pharaohs. Isis's role as a mother defined one of the most tender aspects of Egyptian mythology. She raised Horus in secret, protecting him from Set's relentless attempts to destroy him. Statues and reliefs often show her nursing her son, a symbol so iconic and beloved that it later influenced artistic depictions of motherhood throughout the Mediterranean world. To the Egyptians, Isis was the ideal mother, wise, loving, vigilant, and endlessly devoted. But Isis was far more than a mother. She was the mistress of magic, the greatest practitioner of Heka, the cosmic force that sustained creation. Egypt's most potent spells called upon her name. She could heal the sick, repel danger, manipulate destiny, and command spirits. Her power was so vast that even Ra, the sun god, once revealed his secret name to her, a sign of ultimate authority. This act granted Isis's unparalleled magical access, solidifying her as the most knowledgeable deity in existence. Her influence extended deeply into Egyptian kingship. Every pharaoh was considered the Horus on earth, and Isis, as Horus's mother, served as the spiritual protector of the throne. Her throne-shaped crown symbolized that kingship itself rested upon her. When the pharaoh performed rituals, the presence of Isis sanctified and legitimized his rule. Without her blessing, divine kingship could not exist. Common people worshipped Isis with equal devotion. She was seen as a compassionate goddess who listened to prayers and intervened in personal struggles. Women sought her protection during childbirth, sailors invoked her on dangerous waters, and families called on her for healing and safety. Her temples were alive with offerings, hymns, and festivals celebrating her acts of love and power. Isis's influence did not fade with time. Her worship spread beyond Egypt into Greece, Rome, and eventually across the entire Mediterranean. In many cities, her cult eclipsed that of local gods, and she became a universal figure of salvation and magic. Even after the fall of ancient religions, echoes of Isis survived in art, symbolism, and myth, an immortal legacy carved into world culture. In Egypt, she was the queen of magic. Across the ancient world, she became the eternal mother. And in the hearts of her followers, she remained the goddess who proved that love, intelligence, and perseverance were forces greater than death itself. In the vast tapestry of Egyptian mythology, no pair of goddesses embodies the complexity of the divine feminine more powerfully than Hathor and Sekhmet. They were two faces of the same cosmic force, one radiating joy, compassion, and love, the other burning with fury, destruction, and relentless justice. To the ancient Egyptians, this duality was not a contradiction. It was the very essence of balance. The world required both tenderness and terror, creation and chaos, healing and punishment. Hathor and Sekhmet expressed these truths with unmatched intensity. Hathor, often depicted as a woman with cow horns supporting the sun disk, was the goddess of love, music, beauty, fertility, motherhood, and joy. Her name, House of Horus, suggested that she was the celestial mother who protected the skies and welcomed the souls of the dead into the next life. She comforted the weary, uplifted the sorrowful, and filled the world with life-affirming energy. Festivals dedicated to Hathor were vibrant and filled with music, dance, and celebration. She was the goddess people called upon for happiness, love, and safe childbirth. Her temples, especially at Dendera, overflowed with offerings from those seeking emotional healing and divine warmth. But Hathor's gentleness held a powerful depth. She wasn't naive, nor was she fragile. Her love had strength behind it, the strength that comes from nurturing life and binding communities together. In Egyptian belief, love itself was a divine force that protected the world from despair. Hathor embodied this protective love. Yet from the same divine source emerged another being, Sekhmet, the lioness, the eye of Ra, and the goddess of war, plague, and righteous fury. She appeared when harmony was threatened. Her breath created the desert winds, and her rage ignited terror in the hearts of enemies. Sekhmet was depicted as a woman with the head of a lioness, crowned with the burning sun disk. Her presence alone signified power capable of leveling armies. She was the weapon of the gods, unleashed when chaos dared to challenge cosmic order. The most famous story of Sekhmet reveals the terrifying force of her nature. When humanity rebelled against Ra, the sun god sent Sekhmet to punish them. She descended upon the world with unstoppable ferocity, and her slaughter became so immense that Ra feared the destruction of all life. To save humanity, the gods filled the land with red beard-eyed to resemble blood. Sekhmet drank it, became intoxicated, and her rage softened. Through this myth, Egyptians understood that divine wrath, though necessary, could consume the world if left unchecked. This tale also explained why Hathor and Sekhmet were one being with two forms. When Sekhmet's fury subsided, she transformed into Hathor, the gentle, joyful goddess who restored peace. The duality symbolized the rhythmic heartbeat of the cosmos, destruction leading to renewal, chaos giving way to harmony, fire softening into light. The connection between these two goddesses shaped the Egyptian understanding of balance. A world of only Hathor would be too soft to survive. A world ruled only by Sekhmet would collapse into ruin. Together, they represented the equilibrium upon which life depended. Temples honored both aspects, and priests worked to keep Sekhmet appeased while inviting Hathor's blessings. Sekhmet was also deeply associated with healing. Her fierce energy burned away disease, and her priestesses, often trained as physicians, served in temples that operated as healing centers. The duality persisted here too. The same goddess who could send plagues could also cure them. She was the flame that destroyed illness and restored vitality. Meanwhile, Hathor governed not only earthly joy, but celestial renewal. She welcomed the souls of the righteous into her embrace after death, offering comfort and peace. As the Lady of the West, she guided spirits into the afterlife, ensuring that rebirth followed every ending. Together, Hathor and Sekhmet formed one of the most profound divine dualities in all mythology. Their unity revealed a truth the Egyptians understood deeply. Love and rage are not opposites, but forces born from the same divine core, one nurturing what is precious, the other defending it at all costs. Through them, the ancient world saw the full spectrum of feminine power, gentle enough to heal, fierce enough to destroy, and wise enough to know when each was required. Not all goddesses in ancient Egypt ruled the heavens or shaped the fate of kings. Many worked in the quiet spaces of daily life, guarding homes, guiding families, and protecting ordinary people from danger. Yet these so-called household goddesses were far from minor deities. Their presence was intimate, constant, and essential. They formed the spiritual shield around Egyptian society, offering protection, healing, wisdom, and comfort in ways that touched every home and every life. Among them, Bastet was the most beloved. Depicted as a woman with the head of a cat, or as a graceful domestic cat, she embodied gentleness, joy, and home protection. But the Egyptians never forgot that cats were hunters, and Bastet carried that duality. She defended the household against snakes, pests, and dark forces that sought entry. Her festivals were famously joyful. Crowds traveled to Bubastis to sing, dance, and honor her with music. Yet behind her soft appearance lay the heart of a fierce guardian. When invoked, she could turn into a lioness as powerful as Sekhmet, defending those she loved with blazing intents. While Bastet watched over homes, Neith governed deeper mysteries. One of the oldest goddesses in the Egyptian pantheon, Neith was revered as a creator, warrior, hunter, and cosmic weaver. Her symbol, the bow and arrow, reflected both precision and power. Some myths claimed she wove the universe on her loom, binding reality together with divine thread. Others described her as the mother of crocodiles and the one who settled disputes between gods. Pharaohs honored her wisdom, and soldiers prayed to her for strength. In temples and homes alike, Neith represented the clarity of thought and the discipline of action. Mut, the Great Mother, embodied stability, sovereignty, and timeless authority. Unlike the nurturing softness of Hathor or the fierce energy of Sekhmet, Mut's power was calm, regal, and unwavering. Her crown, the double urea, symbolized rulership over both Upper and Lower Egypt. As the consort of Amun, she occupied a central place in Thebes, and her worship linked the royal family to divine legitimacy. Mut was the mother who upheld the structure of the world, not through affection, but through order and strength. Her temples were serene, her rituals dignified, and her presence carried the stillness of deep waters. Alongside these major goddesses were countless lesser-known deities who played vital roles in daily survival. Tauret, the hippopotamus goddess, protected pregnant women and newborns. Her image, part hippo, part crocodile, part lions, may seem strange, but every piece symbolized protection. Mothers wore amulets of Tauret, believing she stood guard against spirits that preyed on children. Serket, the scorpion goddess, guarded the people from venom, poison, and harmful magic. Her priests specialized in healing bites and stings, calling on her to neutralize toxins. Amulets bearing her symbol were common in households and tombs. Renenunetet, the cobra goddess of nourishment, ensured the grain harvest prospered and protected food stores. Farmers prayed to her for abundance, trusting her to watch over their livelihoods. These goddesses, though tied to the household, were not minor deities. They represented the intimate touch of the divine protection in the night, guidance in childbirth, safety in the home, prosperity in the fields. They stood close to the people in a way the major gods did not. Their statues sat on shelves, their symbols hung around necks. Their names were whispered in prayers at dawn and in fear during storms. Together, these goddesses formed the quiet backbone of Egyptian spirituality. While powerful deities shaped the heavens and guided kings, the household goddesses shaped the rhythm of everyday life. They reminded the Egyptians that the divine was not distant or unreachable, lived inside their homes, walked beside them, and watched over every breath. In their gentle strength and protective vigilance, the people found comfort. In their magic and motherhood, they found survival. And in their presence, they discovered that even the smallest acts of life were held within the embrace of the sacred feminine. To the ancient Egyptians, magic, known as Heka, was not superstition or illusion. It was the invisible force that powered the universe, the divine energy present in creation itself. Heka existed before the gods, before the world, before time. It was the spark from which order emerged, the breath that sustained all life. And the goddesses of Egypt were its most skilled wielders. Their spells, symbols, and protective amulets shaped the spiritual landscape of the Nile for thousands of years. Heka touched every aspect of Egyptian existence. It flowed through the rituals of priests, the words of healers, the prayers of mothers, and the ceremonies of pharaohs. Magic was not separate from religion or science. It was the foundation of both. When Egyptians sought healing, justice, protection, or guidance, they turned to Heka, the same divine power that goddesses used to weave destiny. Among all deities, Isis was the greatest master of magic. Her knowledge of hidden names, sacred words, and cosmic energies allowed her to transform reality. She resurrected Osiris, protected Horus, and commanded divine forces. But she was not alone. Hathor used magic to soothe the heart and restore joy. Sekhmet wielded fiery Heka that burned away illness. Bastet used enchantments to repel evil spirits. Neith wove spells of creation, while Sekhmet protected against poison with her sacred incantations. This magical force manifested physically through amulets, small objects infused with divine protection. These amulets were not symbolic. Egyptians believed they carried real power. Worn around the neck, placed in homes, or buried with the dead, they acted as companions in both life and the afterlife. One of the most powerful was the Isis knot or tayet. Shaped like a stylized cloth, it symbolized life, healing, and the protective embrace of the goddess. It was placed on mummies to guard the dead from harm and restore vitality. Priests blessed each tayet with spells invoking Isis's eternal love and magic. Another sacred amulet was the Eye of Hathor, associated with femininity, music, and divine protection. Women wore it for emotional healing, fertility, and safety. The eye also symbolized the return of harmony after chaos, KOing Hathor's transformation from Sekhmet. The lioness amulets of Sekhmet offered fierce protection. Warriors carried them into battle, believing that goddess's rage could shield them from harm. In temples, priests recited spells that invoked her fiery Heka to cure plagues and purify bodies. Bastet's amulets, often shaped like cats, were among the most common. Families placed them at home entrances, trusting the goddess to guard against spirits, illness, and misfortune. Children wore them for safety, believing Bastet slept beside them at night. Then came the scarab, symbolizing rebirth and transformation. Though often associated with Khepri, it was also empowered by the goddesses who guided the cycle of life and death. Placed upon the heart of the deceased, the scarab ensured the soul would awaken in the next world. Each amulet was activated through ritual. Priests spoke incantations over them, breathing Heka into the stone, metal, or faience. Once awakened, an amulet acted like a spiritual guardian, seen but ever present. Magic also played a crucial role in healing. Temples dedicated to Sekhmet, Hathor, and Isis contained houses of life, where priest healers recorded spells, prescriptions, and rituals. These centers blended medicine and magic seamlessly. A healing session might include herbs, massage, amulets, sacred water, and spoken spells. Egyptians believed the body, mind, and spirit were inseparable. Healing required harmony of all three. In death, goddesses guided the soul with their magic. The Tiad of Isis protected the body, the cat of Bastet repelled spirits. The lioness of Sekhmet burned away danger, and the knots, eyes, and feathers placed among the wrappings ensured safe passage into eternity. Through Heka, the deceased gained not only protection but transformation, the chance to become an Ak, a shining spirit among the gods. To ancient Egyptians, magic was not an escape from reality. It was reality, an invisible force that moved through every breath, every prayer, every heartbeat, and the goddesses, with their wisdom, strength, and compassion, were its greatest masters. Without their magic, the world would unravel. With it, life blossomed, souls were protected, and the universe remained in balance.